maybe the panda can try to do that.
Maybe the panda can do it. So after the Zinc Bootcamp, we spent 1 week doing research on a certain user group, and we got assigned user groups especially if we did not know a lot about them. So I had the job to research perinatal, and for that I went to a meetup called Mums and Tech. The best thing is, it's at the shop. And in order to get the real feel of what a mom really feels and what the mental distress could be, I even took care of one of the kids. So apparently Zach and I are playing hide and seek now. Which means that after only 2 weeks in London, I already got to play hide and seek in a shard. We found him! And then we started to break out in small groups and start to work on different projects. But what I realized is that we focused a lot on user groups. I had a very hard time to find the motivation to focus on a specific user group because I always thought that it might be too small. I wanted to do something bigger. I wanted to focus on like a big picture question. Which meant that I even hosted a workshop about big picture questions and how to get them. And it was such a success. We're doing it again today. So actually I hosted 2 workshops, and because it was such a success and a lot of people actually really enjoyed it, I thought that I'd share it with you after I finished my meeting. So the first thing which came frequently up during the Zinc Bootcamp was the 10-year question. And a lot of people interpret that as, will this company be something you will invest the next 10 years in? But I interpreted the 10-year question a little bit different. I asked, is this something which motivates me the same way today as it will in 10 years?
I'm ready! I'm ready! I'm ready!
Because that's, for example, what Google did. Their question was like, how can we structure the information of the world? But even 2 decades later, when Larry Page Googles something, he still freaks out about it because it's not showing what he actually wants. The second concept we used was the Golden Circle by Simon Sinek. The Golden Circle consists of a why in the middle, then a how around it, and then a what at the end. And a lot of entrepreneurs these days, they try to build the what first and then they figure out the how and the why. But this is all the wrong way around. Because if you're trying to find, for example, a co-founder and build a culture around the what, it's most likely that they'll be on 2 opposing sides. And it's very hard to match on that and build a company culture around that. But if you both agree on the why, the how and the what are completely negotiable. The last concept we used was called first principles thinking. It's a concept from physics and it's something Elon Musk uses a lot in order to solve problems.
I think it's also important to reason from first principles rather than by analogy.
Basically, you assume that what reality actually is and the way you perceive reality are 2 completely different things. Not completely different, but your version of reality is completely shaped by your past experiences and all the experiences you have made before. And so what you do is you break down the problem into the smallest common denominator between your reality and the reality which actually exists. And you go on arguing from there about things you are 100% certain about. So what we then did in the workshop was we first asked everybody to think in very large dimensions. And then we tried to break them down into the smallest common denominator through first principles thinking. And what came out in the end was that most of these problems are based on around 6-7 common denominators. Like, for example, self-awareness, inequality, abundance of resources. And then people try to match on that and try to research from there where to start and how they can help everybody ultimately. And the companies which might come out from this will be way bigger or way more ambitious at least than what we would have built before. But maybe you don't figure it out. Because who believes that in a 1-hour brainstorming session you will find out this big question which you will work on for at least the next 10-20 years. But that's okay. At least it gives you a start and it opens up your thinking to like way bigger questions and more ambition. My personal question? I'm working on it right now and I'll tell you about it next week. And by the way, check out this crazy cool Comic garden. Friends. Tell a friend.